Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to this weekly Bhagavad Gita class. Let's start with the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuः Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Shvapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscham Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Badan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscham Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacham Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupasvarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are discussing the third chapter. So the Supreme Lord is answering different arguments of Arjuna, which Arjuna has already given in the first chapter. So Arjuna gave 4 arguments: compassion, no enjoyment, sinful reactions, and destruction of the dynasty. So the first 3 arguments are discussed in chapter 2. Arjuna was becoming compassionate by seeing his relatives in the battlefield. So the Supreme Lord refuted this argument using Atma Tattva, or the knowledge of soul. That is the first teaching given in Bhagavad Gita by the Supreme Lord. Then Lord refutes the no enjoyment argument using Sakam Karma Yoga. So Krishna says that Arjuna, if you want material pleasure also, then also you have to do your prescribed duties. Whatever duties are prescribed, that will give you materialistic pleasure also. Apart from the spiritual pleasure, if you want material pleasure, for that also you have to fight, because fighting is your Kshatriya Dharma. And the third argument Arjuna gives that if I kill all of them, I will incur sinful reactions. So the Supreme Lord says, no, if you are doing any activity with Niskam Karma Yoga, that means you are not attached to the fruits of that activity, then you will not be entitled to the reactions. So there will be no sinful reactions if you perform Niskam Karma Yoga. So Arjuna had some doubt regarding this section. So at the beginning of the third chapter, Arjuna is asking doubts that whether I should fight or not, because Arjuna was not clear about how can one perform activity and at the same time he is not attached to the fruits of the action. So Arjuna was not clear. Arjuna was thinking, maybe if I have to be detached from the fruits of an action, I have to abandon the action altogether. So therefore Lord clarified that using, yes. So the Lord clarified the argument of Arjuna, and he said that there are 2 ways for achieving self-realization. In the second verse, Lord says, in the third verse, the Supreme Lord is telling, Lokesmin dvividanishta pura proktamaya nagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yogina. So there are 2 ways for self-realization. One is through the Jnana Yoga and another is through the Karma Yoga. So the Jnana Yoga path refers to Karma Tyag, or not doing any materialistic activity. And Karma Yoga means performing your prescribed duty, but in a detached way. So both are ways for self-realization. One is Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam. So Jnana Yoga means I will abandon all activity. I will meditate on my identity as soul, and I will abandon all material activities. I will not do anything. And Karma Yoga path is I will perform my prescribed duties, but I will not be attached to that. So Lord told that there are two ways. But then he also analyzed that in all circumstances, you only have to do Karma Yoga only. Jnana Yoga is not recommended. So the first case, Lord analyzed that Arjuna, if you are not qualified for Jnana Yoga, for doing Jnana Yoga or Karma Tyag or abandoning all the activities, you have to be in a certain stage, and that stage is called Atmaram. If you are at the stage of Atmaram, you can abandon or reject all your activities, and then that is okay. But if you are not at the stage of Atmaram, you should not prematurely abandon the activities or the prescribed duties. Then you will be categorized as a Mithyachari. So here in the 6th verse, Lord is telling, Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasasmaran indriyarthan bimodatma mithyacharasa uchyate. One who restrains the senses of action but whose mind dwells on the sense object certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. So Arjuna asked the doubt whether I should abandon my activity or whether I should do my activity. So the Lord told that yes, there are two ways. One way of achieving self-realization is through doing your activity. Another way for achieving self-realization is by not doing activity. And this path is called Jnana Yoga. And this is only prescribed for those who are qualified to practice Jnana Yoga, who are at the stage of Atmaram. What is the stage of Atmaram? Atmaram means I am self-satisfied. I do not need anyone for my pleasure. I do not need the material world for my pleasure. Even if the material world destroys, I will be happy. I do not need anyone. I do not need anything. I am self-satisfied. Internally, I am always thinking of Krishna and I am self-satisfied. If you have attained this stage, then you can abandon all your activity. Then that is okay. But if you are not at this stage, then if you prematurely abandon activity, then you will be classified as a mithyachari, and that is a great offense. And you have to suffer for that because you are not performing your prescribed duty. So this is the first argument. Krishna analyzes that if you are not qualified for Jnana Yoga, then you must do Karma Yoga. Otherwise, you will be classified as a pretender or mithyachari. And also the Lord analyzed the second case, that even if you are qualified for Jnana Yoga, so that case comes here, verse number, verse number 20, 21. There Krishna says that even if you are qualified for Jnana Yoga, then also you have to perform Karma Yoga. Yad yad acharati shreshthas tattadeve tarojana sajat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by his exemplary acts, all the world pursues. And in the verse number 20 also, Krishna says, Karvannaiva hi samsiddhi mastita janakadaya loka sangrahamevapi sampyasham kartumarhasi. Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Performance of prescribed duties means Karma Yoga. Therefore, just for the sake of educating people in general, you should perform your work. So Lord is telling kings such as Janaka. Janaka means the father of Mother Sita. And he is a great devotee. In our scriptures, it is mentioned that there are 12 Mahajanas, 12 great souls, whom we can follow in the path of devotional service. Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, Kumara, Kapilo, Manu, Prahlad, Janako, Bhishma, Balir, Vayya, Sakir, Vayam. So first Mahajana is Swayambhu, Brahmaji, and Narada, Narada Muni. Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu. Shambhu means the Vaishnavanam Jatha Shambhu, the Lord Shiva, who is topmost among all the Vaishnavas. So Swayambhu means Brahma, Narada, Shambhu. Kumara means the Chatush Kumar, Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandan, Sanat Kumar. Kapilo, Kapil Muni, incarnation of the Supreme Lord. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto, we can see the pastime of Kapil Muni. Okay, Kumara Kapila Manu. Manu means Vaivashvat Manu. And Bali. Bali means Bali Maharaj. Prahlad Janako Bhishma. Prahlad Maharaj. Janak Maharaj. Bhishma Dev. And Bali Maharaj. Vaiyasaki means Sukadev Goswami. And Vayam means Yamaraj is telling this verse. So Yamaraj is also one of the Mahajanas. So these are 12 Mahajanas who are very expert in devotional service. And they are perfect examples of execution of devotional service, and we can follow them. So Janak Maharaj is such a Mahajan. So we can follow Janak Maharaj, and he is certainly qualified. He is not, it's not like he is unqualified to perform Jnana Yoga. He is perfectly qualified to perform Jnana Yoga. Still, he is doing Karma Yoga. He attained perfection by performance of prescribed duties. So by citing the example of Janak Maharaj, Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna that even if you are qualified for Jnana Yoga, you should do Karma Yoga. Why? Just to educate the people in general. Because like Janak Maharaj was a very exalted soul, even if he did not perform the prescribed duties, it is okay for him. But following his examples, in the next verse, Krishna says that whatever a great man performs, common men follow. So if by following Janak Maharaj, his citizens also start abandoning the prescribed duties, then that will be havoc for the citizens because they are not qualified. So this is the point. And Arjuna is also a very exalted personality and a very famous personality. So if Arjuna sets a wrong example by not executing the Kshatriya duty, then people in general also will, in future, they will cite Arjuna's example that Arjuna also did not prescribe, follow the prescribed duty. So why should I follow? So by citing Arjuna's example, people may not perform their prescribed duties. And if they do not perform their prescribed duties, the whole society will be, there will be disorder in the whole society and Varna Sankar will be generated. So this is how the Lord very tactfully answered the fourth argument of Arjuna. So Arjuna's fourth argument was that if I fight and if I kill all the soldiers on the battlefield, all the warriors, who will protect their family? Their family will be unprotected and the female members will be exploited and our purity of our dynasty will be destroyed. So Lord told that, oh Arjuna, you are thinking if you fight, then your dynasty will be destructed and Varna Shankar will be created. That is wrong. If you do not fight, you will set a wrong example. And by following your example, people will also abandon their prescribed duties. And thus Varna Shankar will be produced. So Lord reverted the argument of Arjuna, and this is how I answered all the questions. So we have seen till verse number 24. And so Lord gave two examples. One example is Janak Maharaj. The Janak Maharaj was a perfectly qualified soul for Jnana Yoga. Still he performed Karma Yoga for the sake of educating people in general. And then Lord also gives his own example. Who can be more qualified than Supreme Lord himself? The Supreme Lord is the most qualified living being. And he also says that Name Parthasti Kartavyam Trishu Lokeshu Kinchanaha Nana Vyaptam Avyaptavyam Varta Eva Karmani. O Shana Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems. Nor am I want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. The Supreme Lord has nothing to do. He is the topmost Atmaram. But still the Supreme Lord is performing different duties. When the Supreme Lord was in Vrindavan, he was executing the prescribed duties of a Vaishya. He used to tend the cows every day. When he was in Dwarka as a king, he used to get up early in the morning and do all the rituals, Mangalarati, and he used to worship Vishnu. He used to give charity. So just to educate people in general, the Lord is doing all these activities, although he is not supposed to do. He is the topmost Atmara. So then Lord says, if Janak Maharaj and I myself can do prescribed duties, although we are qualified, why not you, Arjuna? If I consider you are not qualified, then also you should do Karma Yoga. If you are qualified, then also you should do Karma Yoga. So Arjuna had a doubt whether I should do or not. So Lord analyzed both the cases and told Arjuna, you should fight in all circumstances. So the Lord said, if I did not perform my prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of living beings. Because if the Supreme Lord does not perform any activity, by following the example of the Supreme Lord, common people also will not perform their activity, and this is how they will be destroyed. So let's continue from this point. Shaktya karmani avidvamso yatha kurvanti bharatam kuryad vidyams tatha shaktas chikirshur loka sangraham. As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment for the sake of leading people on the right path. So the ignorant people, they perform their duties with attachment because then they do not have the knowledge that if I perform activities with attachment, I have to be bound in the law of karma and therefore I have to suffer. So the ignorant people who do not have this knowledge of Niskam Karma Yoga, they will perform their duties with attachment to results. And these kind of people are 99.99%. We can see everyone is performing activity for some result. That, okay, I want to excel in my academics. I want to get good marks. I want to earn a lot of money. Therefore, I am studying. Or therefore, I am doing job. So this is, they are ignorant people. They are thinking that I'm doing a great thing, but actually they are making arrangements for their future sufferings. They are accumulating so many karmic reactions. They have to suffer. They are making their lives complicated by not following the instruction of the Supreme Lord. So sometimes we think that always in the material world, we are trying to solve a material problem. Always we are in a problem and continuously we have to work. One problem is solved, then another problem comes. And we become focused that I have to solve this problem. But the trick is, by focusing on that material problem, the problem will never be solved. Even if you solve, a new problem will come. This is the science of the Bhagavad Gita. We have to understand that till the point we are detached from that material activities, we cultivate detachment. And how can we cultivate detachment? By focusing on the Supreme Lord. So we have to do our material duties just as a matter of duty. We do not have to get too much attached to solve the material problem. What will happen? All day I'm thinking about that. That's not the way to get happiness and peace. We have to do the material activities as a duty, and we have to focus on Krishna. If you focus on Krishna, then we will see gradually things will become simplified and our life will become smooth. By focusing on the material activities, it will never be solved. Even if we solve a problem, a bigger problem will come. So Maya, the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord, keeps on sending us problems till the time we understand. So all the problems are coming to our life to teach us some lesson. The lesson is that you have to focus on Krishna and you have to become detached from the material activities. Till the time we are attaining this stage, problems will keep on coming. And when we attain this stage, automatically we'll see there is no more problems. Because we have already learned the lesson which Maya Devi and the Supreme Lord is trying to teach us. Problems are coming to us just for teaching this simple thing that we have to focus on Krishna to attain peace, not focus on the material activities. Once we learn, there will be no more problems. So this is the thing that ignorant people, those who do not know, they are performing duties with attachment. So the learned people who already, who knows the knowledge of Niskam Karma Yoga, and knowing is not sufficient. Suppose I read Bhagavad Gita and I came to know about, okay, there is something about Niskam Karma Yoga. Knowing is not sufficient. We have to execute that in our practical life. Are we able to do material activities just for a matter of duty and we are focusing on Krishna, thinking about Krishna always? If we are not attaining that stage, that means we are also performing duties with attachment. And further sufferings are awaiting. So the learned may similarly act. So ignorant people, they also act, but they act with attachment. The learned people, they also similarly act, but without attachment because they have the knowledge. Like Janak Maharaj. Janak Maharaj is perfectly exalted soul. He is already at the stage of Atmaram. He does not have any attachment. So he is also performing activities. The Supreme Lord Krishna is also performing activities. Janak Maharaj and Supreme Lord, these two personalities, they are also performing their prescribed duties, but without attachment. And they do not need to perform activities, but they are doing it for the sake of leading people in the right path, so that people are not misled. Because they have taken a leadership position, they have to do their prescribed duties, although it is perfectly okay for them if they do not do. But just for the sake of leading people on the right path, they are doing it. Na buddhivedam janayed ajnanam karma sanginam joshayat sarva karmani vidyam yukta samacharan. So as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. So a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Like Janak Maharaj, if Janak Maharaj is perfectly qualified, if he would stop his own activities, then by following his example, he would induce others to stop work. So a learned person should not do that. Although a learned person is situated in the stage of Atmaram, he should do his prescribed duties, so that others will also be motivated to do their prescribed duties. And they should try to induce others to work in the spirit of devotion. This is very, very important. Work in the spirit of devotion. So any activity can be done in two ways: for our personal sense gratification, and another is for the satisfaction of Krishna. So the same activity you are doing, the same time you are giving, but the result will be completely different. And this is a mind-boggling science which is not known to everyone in this world. Like very few people know this science. The same activity we are doing, a devotee is also studying, a devotee is also doing jobs and all other activities just like an ordinary person. But there is a huge difference in the consciousness. A devotee is doing it in the spirit of devotion, and a normal materialistic person is doing it for their own sense gratification. They want something out of it. They want money, prestige, and sense gratification. They have a lot of desires. But a devotee is solely doing any activity for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So the same activity, sometimes people say that I do not have time for devotional service, or I do not have time for spirituality. It's not about time. You are doing the exact same thing, exact same time you are giving, but it's all about consciousness. And this consciousness will be developed if you have knowledge. This knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, if we have digested this knowledge, automatically our consciousness will be changed. So then we will not need any extra time for this. Right. So a normal person also meditates, a devotee also meditates, but the devotee meditates on the Supreme Lord. So the devotee is also studying, a normal person also studying. So there is no consideration of I need some extra time to do it. But we have to understand things properly and contemplate on it. And when we properly digest this knowledge, automatically our consciousness will be changed. And once our consciousness is changed, then the same activity will make us liberated. If we are doing the same activity for personal sense gratification, we are more and more bound in the law of karma. And once we are bound, all our energy will be gone because we are not liberated. Problems after problems will keep on coming into our life because we have created those karmic reactions and we have to suffer. But the same activity, if we are doing in a detached way for the satisfaction of Krishna, same activity will liberate us from the karmic bondages. No new karma will be generated and all our previous karma will be destroyed and we will experience a bliss. We will feel our life has become very, very simple and we are experiencing bliss. So this is the bliss of liberation, and this is possible to experience while you are living. Sometimes we think, okay, all these things are written in scriptures. So if I do devotional service after death, I will be liberated. No. While we are alive, we can also experience the bliss of liberation. The bliss of liberation from the bondage of karma. If we are practicing this detached work and offering everything for the sake of the Supreme Lord. And that's the source of happiness. Artificially, if we are trying to be happy in this material world by going to different places and hanging out, all these things are okay. It's not that we have to leave everything. No, we have to add Krishna. We don't have to subtract anything from our life. Just add Krishna. Add the Krishna consciousness. Do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna. For every activity, we should contemplate, is this activity somehow related to Krishna? If not, then it is a great danger. And therefore, we have to somehow connect every activity for the satisfaction of Krishna. At least we have to think, okay, I'm doing it for not for myself. I'm doing it for Krishna. So then we will experience the bliss of liberation. Verse number 27. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasham ahankara bimoodatma kartahamiti manyate. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of the activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So actually all the activities are being carried out by the three modes of material nature. And the soul can only desire. So three things are there: soul, super soul, and the material nature. We are soul. What is the soul? So consciousness, a spiritual spark, a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord is inside this body. When the soul, that is called soul. When the soul leaves the body, everything remains same, but there is something missing. Suppose a person dies at a moment t is equal to 0. At t is equal to 0 minus a limiting value, the person was alive. At t is equal to 0 plus, the person is dead. So within that dt period of time, there will not be any loss of chemicals also. The chemical composition, everything will be perfect. But what happened at t is equal to 0? What is missing at t is equal to 0 plus? That was not missing in t is equal to 0 minus. So that component is soul. Beyond the chemicals of this body, there is some spiritual spark or consciousness. So that is called soul. The second thing is super soul. Within this body, there are two personalities. One is the soul. Soul means we. And another soul is also there, that is called super soul or Paramatma, which is the portion of the Supreme Lord. So within a human body, a soul is also there, super soul is also there. Means the living entity and the Supreme Lord exist in the human body. In Upanishad, this is confirmed that samane vrikshe purusho nimagno nishaya shochayati mahiyamana justam jada pashyati yannamesham ashyamahimanamiti vita shoka. So within the same body, soul and super soul both are present. Just like in the analogy given in the Upanishad is, in the same tree there are two birds. One bird is the living entity and another bird is the super soul or Paramatma. So Paramatma is always looking at the living entity, and he is just looking at the living entity, what it is doing. The living entity tries to become happy in this world by enjoying so many things, and then ultimately it becomes frustrated, and it then turns back to his friend Paramatma. Then Paramatma starts guiding. So till the point we have a desire to enjoy the material world, then we really cannot progress in the spiritual life, because our mind will be diverted by that. But when we are sufficiently frustrated, it may take multiple lifetimes. Like it may take millions of lifetimes to become completely frustrated with the material world. So in every lifetime, we are trying to enjoy in the material world. But as we can experience, the more we try to enjoy, more we are caught up into different problems of this world. And we get small happiness. Temporary small happiness we get. Like we are partying with our friends in the weekend. Very small, temporary enjoyment. We are eating some delicious dish. So we are satisfied with this small enjoyment and we are thinking we are happy. And we are missing out the real pleasure. So till the time we are trying to enjoy material world by experiencing this small happiness, we will not be able to concentrate on the Supreme Lord. And it takes millions of lifetimes for intelligent living entities who are very, very intelligent. They can understand in one or two lifetime that no, this is not the way. I'm not getting proper happiness from this. I'm not getting satisfied. They will turn back to the Supreme Lord very easily. But some people, for them, it may take millions of lifetimes to get enough frustrated to this material world. And then they will turn back to the Supreme Lord, and then the Supreme Lord will guide the living entity so that the living entity can come closer to the Supreme Lord and experience the actual spiritual bliss, which is the natural bliss of the soul. The soul is having three components. Sat, Chit, Ananda. The word Satchidananda is attributed to the soul. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda means bliss. So the soul has a natural bliss, and all the things we are trying to enjoy in this material world, they are artificial bliss. So this small happiness in the material world, they are artificial bliss. They are bliss of the senses. When we eat something delicious, that is, our tongue is satisfied, the soul is not satisfied. Tongue is a sense, and we are beyond the body. Senses are within the body, but we are beyond the body. So therefore, we get temporarily pleasure, but we are not satisfied by that. It's not that by eating something delicious or by partying with friends, we are very, very satisfied and we can continue forever. No, we again need that. So that means we are not satisfied because the pleasure is not at the level of the soul, but the pleasure is very superficial on the level of the body. The soul itself has an innate pleasure. Within this Satchidananda, this Ananda aspect is there within the soul. We have to unlock that. And that will be unlocked only when we connect with the Supreme Lord by the process of the yoga. Yoga means addition of soul and super soul. When the soul is connected with the super soul, all the natural qualities of the soul will be manifested. Just like a spark, till the time a spark is inside the fire, the fiery qualities of the spark will be maintained. And once the spark is detached from the fire and it falls into a grass, the fiery qualities will be extinguished and it will not be a fire. So the same thing is happening because we are not connected well to the Supreme Lord. What is happening? We are in the material world and all the qualities of the soul are extinguished. Sat, Chit, Ananda we cannot experience. And therefore we are trying to become happy artificially by satisfying the senses. Because the natural happiness of the soul is missing. And that can be regained by the process of yoga. And that's the whole point of Bhagavad Gita. So there is soul, there is super soul, and there is material nature. We cannot do anything. We are very, very tiny living entities. We cannot do anything. So the soul can only desire. The Supreme Lord Paramatma sanctions and the material nature performs. Any activity we are doing, suppose we are speaking, it's not that we are speaking. The soul is desiring to speak. The Supreme Lord is allowing us to speak. And then the material nature is making arrangement of moving different components of the body and the sound is produced. So this body is not a property of the soul. The body is a property of the material nature. Material nature can control this body. Soul cannot control the body. Although the soul is present inside the body, soul and the body are completely disconnected. Soul is in the spiritual dimension. Body is in the material dimension. Soul cannot do anything with the body. So how we are speaking? The soul is desiring to speak. The Paramatma inside our body is sanctioning that, okay, this living entity wants to speak and I sanction. Based on its karma, he is eligible to speak. For some people, they cannot speak even if they want. So that means their karma is not allowing them to speak also. They have done something terrible. That Supreme Lord has made this law of karma, and according to the law of karma, they are not eligible to speak. So therefore, the soul can only desire to do a certain activity. Then the Supreme Lord sanctions that activity, and the whole body is controlled by material nature or Mahamaya. And then Mahamaya is moving the vocal cord and the tongue and the hand gestures, and you are saying something. So the soul is not doing all these activities. These gestures and the moving of the body components are done by the Mahamaya, being instructed by the Supreme Lord. So every time we do any activity, these things, this mechanism is going on. The soul desires, Supreme Lord sanctions, material nature executes. Soul desires, Supreme Lord sanctions, material nature executes. So therefore, one who is in a proper knowledge, he knows all these things, that I am a very tiny living entity. Although we have come to this material world for enjoying, but we cannot enjoy. Suppose we come to this material world and the Supreme Lord as super soul, he does not come. Then we will not be able to do anything. We will try to move our hand. Hey, hand, please move. I'm soul. Your body, you should listen to me. It will not happen. So material nature will say, why should I listen to you? Who are you? Material nature will not listen to spirit soul. Material nature will listen to the super soul, because super soul, Paramatma, or the Supreme Lord, is the master of the material nature. So we are envious of Krishna. We don't want to serve Krishna. That's why we came to this world. But even after coming to this world, we are trying to enjoy. And for that enjoyment, knowingly or unknowingly, we are dependent on Krishna. If Krishna as super soul does not come, we will not be able to enjoy also. So this is the condition of the soul. The soul is not able to do anything without the Supreme Lord. But still he has the abhiman that I will not serve the Supreme Lord. I want to become controller. I want to become happy. Everyone should serve me. So this is the abhiman or pride. And this is called ahankara bimudatma. By this ahankar, we are bimudatma. For every activity, we are dependent on the Supreme Lord, but we are not able to recognize that. We think we are doing it on our own. And the Supreme Lord says, okay, if you are happy thinking that, you stay happy, I will not reveal myself. So the Supreme Lord is not speaking from inside. Hey, you are always dependent on me, so do not speak too much. The Supreme Lord is not doing that, because he is very, very merciful. But we should know, once we come to this stage of knowledge, then we identify that at every stage I was dependent on the Supreme Lord. And due to false pride, I was thinking that I am doing it alone and I am enjoying. For every enjoyment, we are dependent on the Supreme Lord. Tattavittu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification. So this is the first symptom of knowledge. One who is in knowledge, he will know that the sense gratification is not going to satisfy me. Satisfaction or happiness only comes from connection with the Supreme Lord. Knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results. So working in devotion, work for fruitive results. The same activity, same work is being done. One is being done with attachment, with a desire to enjoy the results, and another same work is being done in devotion as offering to the Supreme Lord. So the same time will be taken, same activity we are doing, but the result will be completely different. One will bind us more and more in karmic reactions, and our life will become complicated. Problems after problems will come, and another will make us liberated from the bondage of karma, and we will experience natural bliss, and our life will become simplified, it will become smooth. Prakriter guna sammura sajjante guna karmashu tana krishna bido mandan krishna binya vichalayat. Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in materialistic activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to performers' lack of knowledge. So the same thing Krishna is telling multiple times so that we understand it well, that a learned person who is already at the stage of Atmaram and who can practice Jnana Yoga, still they do Karma Yoga, they do prescribed duties, so that the inferior people, they are not disturbed by their activities, so that they are also inspired to do their prescribed duties. And now Krishna is telling us a very important thing, that how can this be done? Krishna is telling again and again that you have to detach work. So Krishna said there are two ways. One is Jnana Yoga, another is Sankhya Yoga. Jnana Yoga means abandoning work, and Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. So Jnana Yoga means abandoning work. Karma Yoga means doing prescribed work without attachment, means with detachment. So how to do that? If you want to do artificially that, okay, I will do, but I will not be attached to the activity, this is very, very difficult and impossible. So how can we practically do this detached work? This is the formula. Very, very important verse. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyassadhyatma chetasa nirasir nirmamo bhutva juddhasva vigatajvara. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works to me. This is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. With full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. Surrender all your works unto me. Whatever we do, we have to do it for the satisfaction of Krishna. We have to think that Krishna has given me talents. I have to utilize them in Krishna's service. These talents are not my properties. I have not designed my talents before my birth, that I will have these talents, let me design. No, Krishna has given us. So there is nothing to boast. Even if we are academically highly qualified or whatever qualifications we have some talents for singing, for we can paint very well. Whatever talents we have not designed. So we should not be artificially proud of that talent, that I have this talent. So what? Krishna has given you that talent. Why we are becoming proud? So therefore, Krishna has given us talents and we have to utilize same talents in the service of the Supreme Lord. Then we will attain peace. And that's how we can do detached work, and that will give us happiness. So this is the very important verse, and by this one section ends. So in the third chapter, till now we have seen the doubt of Arjuna. Krishna says there are two ways, and Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam and Karma Yogena Yoginam. Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. And Krishna has also analyzed the both cases. If you are qualified for Jnana Yoga, then also you should do Karma Yoga. If you are not qualified for Jnana Yoga, then also you should do Karma Yoga. Okay. So now this is the section of Niskam Karma Yoga to set examples. So we will see beyond verse number 30. And at the end, Krishna will also give some prescription at the end of this chapter, how to conquer lust. So Arjuna will ask, so all the four arguments of Arjuna is already answered. So then Arjuna will ask this question. This is a very famous question. Arjuna will ask that Krishna, although I know what is right and what is wrong, still some forces is engaging me to do the wrong thing. Although I know what is right, what is wrong, some unknown force is taking me towards the wrong. So what is that force and how to deal with that force? So Krishna will discuss that. What is that force and how to deal? And that is called lust. So now we'll do chanting together.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Radha Srivasadi Gaur Bhakti. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending this session. So we'll again continue next week. Do you have any questions? You can ask. Okay, so let's meet next week. Hare Krishna.